Blizzard promised this wouldn't be possible. Make the UI play for you. That's right. I don't know what this is about. You know, I don't pre-watch videos, so I really have no idea. But it sounds like something with Blizzard's UI and maybe some add-ons allowing people to play easier than before. It looks like big wigs and stuff here if I'm reading the notes correctly. So let's get into this here. Some weird add-on developments happening in WoW. Let's check this one out here from Bellular.
We're on the cusp of a new patch, so you know what that means. There's plenty of drama floating around and quite a lot of news to talk about. But that's of course not all. The upcoming launch has got a pretty massive quirk that's driving a few people mad, and the Bigwigs developer has decided that Blizzard's add-on limitations are more just add-on limitation suggestions, so they've been able to feature that Blizzard explicitly called out as being unwanted. But at the end of the day, Blizzard's limitations have often not really actually been limitations. There are good things as well.
Wait, they find a way around?
As an example, repair costs actually being looked at. Pretty damn fast as well. So welcome back to the news, and this time, it's last minute patch 12.07 changes.
All right, let's check it out. The production
Blizzard have no
pipeline.
doubt seen all the feedback on updates coming too fast. They've seen the stacks of evidence of patches becoming too buggy. And I have to wonder if this time, they've maybe decided on a solution. Now let me explain, right? It may seem like a simple choice where you have option 1, go ahead as planned.
By the way, I don't think I'm tripping. I think Bellular's background and his like frame rate is being really weird here because everything else is smooth except Bellular. Damn it, Blowular. You're blowing the show, man. Okay, here we go. Option 1, go ahead
As planned, which will keep everything smooth, but will risk another busted patch. Keep everything smooth for their production, I mean, not necessarily for us players. But maybe there's option 2, delay the patch, which is safer, but would throw all of their plans and team allocations into chaos.
Yeah.
Maybe what we're about to see, though...
I'm convinced that Blizzard will not delay patch releases. What they'll do is delay content. I mean, we saw the Turbulent Timeways get pushed back 2 weeks, the event. That could be because there's some issue with Dragonfly time walking, right? This is the first time they bring in Dragonfly time walking, and that could be it. So what I think what I see them doing now is they drop patches still on the day they say they're going to drop them, but any content that seems bugged or broken, they just delay its release. So we get like a tiered release of the content, basically.
Is a third way, a third option. So patch 12.07 will launch on the 16th of June. That's 8 weeks after 12.05 launched, just as planned.
Oh,
but
God,
they're adding in a major twist here. One of the major patch features is coming later, and not just like...
I mean, this looks super pre-washed at this point. This looks super... I'm not gonna lie. I just said this, and now he's saying it, and I really had... I only I harm myself most of the time with these videos and the allegations that had come my way. So, yeah, he's saying what I just said, that, yeah, the tiered release of content is probably the way Blizzard's going to continue to do this.
Like the next week, it's a whole lot later. You see, in the official announcement for the patch, Blizzard said that this patch's story is coming rather massive 3 weeks after launch, on the 7th of July. That's when we'll see the campaign involving Zul'Jan and more of the build-up to patch 12.1, so we're going to be waiting a while for that. Now there's a burning question here, and the question is why? Now the obvious thing we're all thinking of, me included, is time gating, right? Most of the time, whenever someone mentions time gating, they're imagining Ian and Holly, I don't know, smoking a cigar, rubbing their hands together, looking like Scrooge McDuck over a big pile of gold. I mean, The logic almost speaks for itself, right? Delay the content by almost a month, which will push loads of people to, roll their subscription over for an extra month to do all of that content. I guess in theory, it's almost like asking double the price for the same amount of development work. Now, you could call that technically true, but I think blatantly tricking people is not really a sound business strategy in the long run. And that's because while we can totally logic out that you could time gate, and you could probably earn more money in the very short term by doing that, well, if you do it too much, there'll be nothing in the game, people will just wise up and then leave. We've seen that enough in the past, and let's be real, there's a patch every 8 weeks. I don't think we really need to be stretching out our content.
Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of people saying they're just going to take 12.0.7 off for the most part. They're just not going to really play. They like the game. They're ready for season 2. So, but they're going to take a little bit of the summer off for 12.0.7 and not get into the game that much. And that whole thing is fine. Honestly, this patch is not that necessary. Yeah, there's going to be some biz items coming from the new raid and stuff, but even those items will be obsolete in season 2. How long are those items going to last? So, yeah, it's not necessarily something you have to play. Even though Blizzard seemingly wants to time gate things and let things last a little bit longer, it's not a big deal if you don't get into it.
And that makes me think that something different may be going on. So let me explain. Overall engagement is a bit more of a relevant thing. And the longer you drag out a patch, the less you stack stuff up on top of each other, right? Then, if people are a lot less stressed about having to do a whole lot of stuff at once, maybe they'll take their time and engage with the game a little bit more overall. If everything's available at once, it can end up feeling like a huge blitz, and people will feel there's a pressure to do everything really quickly. So you could say that this way, everyone's got something to take their time with, so the story can come out a little bit later, and no one will really miss out.
Right.
Or so I would say, because 3 weeks isn't a bit later. It's actually quite a long time. So here's a second theory, and I think it may be the actual one. What if this content is just not ready?
It's not ready.
I mean,
yeah.
It's all up in the PTR, so it is quite literally written and playable and all of that, but when you're playing it in PTR, you don't get final cutscenes. And it does make me wonder, maybe they're not ready yet.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think
Blizzard
so.
needs to buy more time to finish that stuff up. It's possible. At this point, it's pure conjecture, but I don't think it would be completely insane.
No, I don't think it would be completely insane either. And I did think it was a little bit weird that the story, which is something that we typically get, like as soon as the patch goes live, you go in and you start the story quest line, right? The new piece of the story. We're getting this thing like halfway through the patch, which is kind of weird to me. I thought that from the very beginning. And yeah, it's probably because it's just not ready. Maybe there's some bug they're working through. I have no idea, but it seems like they've decided we're going to still release the patch. We'll just drop this content later.
But there's another possibility, and it could be they need time to change some things. We know that this leads directly into patch 12.1, so there's maybe a chance they're pushing through some last-minute changes to the overall Zul'Jan storyline. Could sound a bit insane at this point, but there's actually some precedent behind this.
Oh,
At the
really?
very start of the War Within, Blizzard clearly didn't know where they were going with Illyria, and at the end of the expansion, well, they added in the recap version of the War Within campaign. And when they did that, they actually added in a bonus line from Illyria to the leveling campaign. It's during the scenario with her and Anduin, and she talks a little bit more about her destiny turning to the void. So it's not unimaginable that they want to shore up some dialogue, maybe based on how 12.1 development is going. But 3 weeks is a long time, and the reception from PTR hasn't been that bad. I'm not going to spoil WoW's A-plot on you, don't worry, but I'll say most of the criticism has been fear for where we go next, instead of issues with 1207 itself, at least from the story front. That's a pretty good sign overall.
I think it's pretty obvious where we're going next. We're doing the whole Troll Isle of Fangs, Amani lore, and Loa stuff. I mean, we're getting the whole Loa storytelling thing with... what's her name? Lily, or whatever. So we're going to go through all of that. Lore walking, as I said, we're going to go through that stuff with the Loa. It's very obvious what's happening next. So I don't think anyone's going to be shocked when we get an Amani Troll patch next.
I mean, if they were going to delay anything to
I pre-watched the pre-patch.
Development time, I'd expect it to be either the showdowns or the raid, and not the usually quite simple story. So I think we can probably rule that theory out. There is another idea. It's not as sexy or dramatic. It may just be timing. You see, 1207's story is basically the setup for patch 12.1, so shifting those two things to be a bit closer together probably does make sense. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole us going and doing some questing with Zul'Jan and his uncle isn't really tied to, well, showdowns, which are basically us taking all of the baddies of patch 12.0 0.5 and going to their home bases in these X-Legion worlds and knocking their heads in. Perhaps it makes sense that after we've done that, we then get ready for the next story. But there's one more thing before the next segment. Some of this could be Blizzard testing a shorter hype cycle. You may have noticed it's been a bit quiet lately with the WoW news. The Xbox event last Sunday would have been a great chance to get a whole bunch of eyes on WoW's next big thing. But it seems they're kind of happy to hold off on that. So what if this story delay is to create a shorter 5-week wait? I mean, think about it. For the past while, we've almost known way too much about patches and story ahead of time, right? I mean, at worst, the patch can almost feel over by the time it's launched because everyone's explored everything, all future expectations are priced into the community, and we're just waiting for another 8 weeks. As an example, 1207 was announced on the 30th of April. That's 7 weeks from announcement to release. Maybe Blizzard cutting that time period down will help keep announcements actually feeling like announcements and prevent that kind of awkward thing where as soon as a patch drops, within a week we already know loads about the next patch, we maybe even have a PTR build, and that does make the current game feel a bit less important. But at the end of the day, it is still a 3.
I do feel like the news cycle sometimes makes things feel a little bit less exciting. No doubt, because as soon as this patch hits, we're going to be getting 12.1 stuff for Season 2 and everything. We're going to be getting all the previews and everything like that, the storylines, the new land even. We're going to see what the Isle of Fangs actually looks like. We're going to get images of it. So yeah, it does make the current game sometimes feel like the old game when you're playing it a lot of times, because we're already looking forward to the next thing. Oh, I don't know how Blizzard ever prevents that. I mean, they have to have these things tested out on PTR too. So it is what it is. Part of today's modern news cycle, I guess.
Week delay on some patch content. I know people really care about the topic of time gating. That's why I'm happy to devote a good bit of time in this WoW News episode to this story. So whatever Blizzard's actual logic is, I think it's getting clear that they are getting quite comfy spreading their game out across the calendar. I'm not entirely sure if that's the best thing to do. On the one hand, less pressure to play. On the other hand, less exciting patch days. And I certainly have to say, the experience of logging in on a big new patch day, filling a weekly bar within a few hours and sort of feeling like there's nothing else to do, well, that doesn't really feel great. And
Right.
yes, if there was a new campaign that took 2 hours and was just done, well, it's not like that would keep you going playing content for ages.
Small indie company, I guess. Yeah, look, the whole thing about Blizzard's size and everything, certainly they could have more testers. I think they need more testers. That's definitely a thing. They cut all those guys out. I don't know. They just got AI doing testing now. I have no idea. But definitely the fact that they have to use the player base to really test things out, probably because they don't have enough people to do it internally. I think you do eventually need to push things over to live servers and actually see how it runs. But the amount of testing that they use real players for, it's probably due to the fact that they have such a small dev team internally for testing. And that's just because they're freaking cost cutting pieces of shit like everybody else.
Maybe experiencing a big slice of story would make patch day feel just a little bit more like patch day. But you know what? My standing advice is still to not really plan on playing WoW a lot during patch day or the next few days after, because there often are bugs, and generally, you'll have a better time if you wait till they're fixed. So because of that, it's hard to know what I think about this. Anyway, that's enough time. I've time-gated the other segments of this video too much, so let's talk about the add-on war.
The add-on war. Okay, this is
The
what the
add-on
title
changes
was
of
about.
Midnight have been a mixed bag, to say the least. We're on the other side of the drama, I guess, and most of us have gotten used to whatever restrictions Blizzard have imposed. But that has not stopped some faithful add-on warriors continuing to wage war. And doing so in the form of, well, software engineering, which is pretty rad.
Nice.
Now, last month, it was Mini-CC in the news for finding a bunch of insanely specific custom workarounds to track friendly player cooldowns. That actually made it a staple of Mythic Plus, with it approaching 3 million downloads,
Wow.
despite being brand new.
Wow.
Which, you know what?
That's crazy.
Does kind of tell you something about people playing World of Warcraft, that an add-on can just explosively grow that quickly when it's mainly being used by the M+ community, and not even at the very beginning of a new season. It's kind of impressive. But this month, it's bigwigs who are in the spotlight. Whenever Blizzard added their own raid timeline feature, one of their goals was to make people respect spell names again. They even called that out directly in this huge post that they made to the WoW UI development Discord back during the Alpha of Midnight. Basically, simplifying spell names, in their view, removes a bit of a knowledge check from the game, and that pushes them into making casts faster and more deadly. And that's basically because the renaming of the ability makes that whole thing way lower cognition, meaning that
Yeah.
Blizzard's only real way to test you then ends up being on the reaction time.
I mean, I guess it's not wrong. If an add-on renames an ability to frontal, you know, oh, I just got to get out of the front, rather than, I don't know what you would call a frontal ability. I can't even think of an example right now. Calling something like retribution wave. Okay, well, that sounds like, okay, what's this? Oh, I got to get out of the way of the frontal. This is a frontal. And so, yeah, you do memorize the spell names. You start to understand how that's all going to work. But I'll be honest, even right now, like, I couldn't even think of the name because we were just doing Beleren, right? I know, and as a tank, that's like all frontals. That entire fight is like swapping frontal hits. I can't tell you what the names of the frontals are. I just know there's the shadow frontal and the light frontal. And that's what I call them. So I'm still in that add-on mindset. I don't actually know what the hell the name of the ability, and I do have the in-game scrolling thing, but I actually recognize the image of the abilities that's dropping down more than even the name of the ability. That's how I know it's coming.
Realistically, I think most of us could agree there is a middle
And that's why
ground,
you proc
and
it.
to only have the extremes would be a bit of a false dichotomy. But it certainly shouldn't be a surprise that both bigwigs and DBM have managed to hack that functionality back in. So if you want, you can ignore all the flavor. In raids going forward, you will be able to rename spells not to something that's just a more simple thing to read, but instead to an instruction of what you should do.
Oh.
In bigwigs, you can even export configs so that your guild can make and share custom ones, like DBM's example here, which...
That's actually interesting, because then I can basically have an ability called taunt swap. Like if I take like the damage, stack ability from the boss, I can have it set so when the boss hits with that ability, it says taunt swap instead of the ability name itself, which basically starts to bring back in like DBM and stuff. Like it's like the OG version before all the add-ons were killed off. That's kind of funny.
signals out Bob. As
Oh,
an
you mean
example,
dead stab?
you
Yeah.
can have something like Steve bubble this stack with a fully voiced countdown. You could actually do that again.
Oh, wow.
So it's interesting that UI devs have gotten, in a way you could say, so brazen about pretty much ignoring Blizzard's statements and add-ons. But of course, Blizzard made statements. We all assumed that Blizzard would make the technological changes necessary to make their statements, the rules. But they didn't really do that, did they? Now, 12.1 does have UI updates on the roadmap, and it is a major patch. I think that regardless of this add-on discussion, we are long overdue improvements to things like the damage meter, as well as just about everything else. So I'm expecting a long list of changes when the PTR lands, and I would not be surprised if Blizzard shipped more restrictions as well, or at least did something to address the add-on situation publicly. Because if they don't, they are kinda just waving a white flag. I'd like to think that if Ian is going to lose his war on add-ons, that, I don't know, at least go down with a fight. Who knows, maybe there'll be another manifesto.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to let this last too long. I still think they're going, they want the no add-ons life. They do. And I don't think they're going to let this one slip for very long.
Dropped in the PTR. That would be fun, if nothing else. Though realistically, I think we've sort of settled in to how Midnight feels to play. I think people at Blizzard are just crossing their fingers and hoping that most people won't feel the need for add-ons anymore.
There's 3 million people that downloaded that one.
That is exactly how our guild feels. Which is a reminder, just because something's interesting and newsworthy doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Well, that being said, let's talk about equal right to repair. No, this is not a Lewis Rossman video, but we are going to talk about repair bills in WoW.
Right. It's better
Sometimes
now.
it'll take Blizzard forever to solve issues the community's been talking about for ages.
I was just thinking that too, Denflup. If there's 3 million downloads for an add-on that's very much specific to like Mythic Plus and rating, what does that mean for WoW subs? Because those are only retail Andes too, right? Those are not people playing Classic because this is a retail add-on. What the hell? I mean, I guess you could use the ability. I don't know. Could you use that add-on in Classic and rename abilities too? Maybe. But damn. 3 million people downloading that add-on? And those are like active players, right? Why the hell would a bot need the ability to rename rename abilities? So there must be a healthy amount of people playing this game right now. Shit.
This time round, though, they've managed it in just a few weeks. So, repair bills are kind of saved. So, a while ago, right, WoW had investigated the rising repair costs. We did a bit of a
It's 2.99 million alts. I don't think so, though, because like you download the add-on, it's a per account thing. Like you don't have to re-download the add-on for your alt. You just download it one time and it applies across all your account players. So that's actually a decent like metric to look at. Be like, well, there's 3 million people downloading this add-on, so there must be at least 3 million subs in the game right now.
Follow up to that. And as it turns out, well, repair bills have been massively inflated, and the major culprit is actually the scaling of upgrade levels in the game. Myth gear can cost you over 200 gold per wipe, which, as we worked out, I think this is one of our greatest contributions to science and humanity.
Right, he kept downloading.
It's actually more expensive than wiping with actual toilet paper.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we did
WoW
saw
Token
those
really lets
numbers.
you do some fun things with currency. Now, sadly, that bit of the scaling is not what Blizzard have fixed. Progressing M Plus or Mythic Raid is kind of still going to bankrupt you. But the good news is, you'll all be bankrupted fairly. You see, one thing that people noticed
Blizzard just needs to put more gold in the treasure box at the end of a Mythic Plus run, especially if you time it. I mean, that's, or just complete it. That if anything would be an incentive for people to finish out the Mythic Plus run. Like say you broke the timer, but you got like one boss left, and you know that if you kill that one boss, you're at least going to get your amount of repair bill back in gold. That would at least be a reason to finish out the dungeon. The fact that you get more damage, even if you run that entire dungeon without dying, you take more damage to your armor than you get gold at the end of the run, that's kind of ridiculous.
when digging into repair bills is that it's a massively biased system. Durability goes down during combat for everybody, but it also has a chance to drop whenever you land a physical attack with a weapon or get hit by or block an attack. Which does make quite a lot of sense when you think about it, but it's kind of not the issue, is it? Now, throughout the entire history of the game, repair bills have secretly been a tax on two types of player. Those with fast weapons like rogues, or perhaps tanks. Especially tanks with shields.
Yeah.
This whole time, prot warriors using shield block have actually been basically tapping
Shield
into
tax.
their gold as a bonus class resource. So yes, you've got to manage your rage, but you've also got to manage your gold. Now, one player actually mathed it out to be an extra 25 gold per dungeon just for using shield block to block a bit more. Kind of funny, but now it's something that Blizzard have fixed. Weapons and armor no longer take extra damage from combat events, which is less immersive, I suppose, but I think it is good. It means that everyone should have roughly equal repair bills, assuming similar gear levels.
We need a commercial like the Shania Twain, like help out a pet. For $1 a day, you could save a pet or something, with arms of an angel playing in the background. It's just instead, it's like for just 1 gold a day, you could help a warrior. You could help a prot warrior get his repair bills done. That's what we need. We just need an entire commercial campaign to help out prot warriors. I mean, at least now I guess it's better. They don't have the shield tax anymore.
Unless, of course,
they're all broke. Yeah, prot warriors are broke.
You die way more. You're still going to be paying the death tax. But the issue of, say, our myth gear and wipes when you're wearing myth gear being really expensive, well, that is still a bit of an issue. But hey, maybe the classic banger from Ian will come in. Just wipe less. It's a skill issue. But at least with these changes, in Azeroth, death and taxes are both relatively fair. Now, this patch is coming out next week. There is a shitload of stuff in it. It really is humongous.
It's a lot for a 0.7, yeah.
patch. So don't let one bit of content coming out 3 weeks later ruin the whole thing for you. There really is a whole lot in this patch. And if you want to know about everything that's in the patch, simply watch this video next.
All right, yeah, nice video overall from Bellular. Interesting stuff. I thought some of the most interesting, the add-on thing was interesting because of the player numbers, and someone did bring up that's a per computer thing. But what are the odds that everybody out there's got 2 or 3 computers to play WoW on? I think that number's a decent check on honestly what we could expect from player subs. I think that means we got a pretty healthy game going here. Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Nice video overall though from Bellular.